I spoke to you yesterday with the news coming out about Ronaldo. Sounds like he's been given his marching orders, his P45. As much as he says an agreement, a mutual agreement between club and player, it sounds like a sacking. We're gonna have to start there. Obviously, you're a United fan. Lot to talk about. A lot's happened in the last 24 hours in terms of the Glazers, in terms of Ronaldo. But give me your thoughts initially on the interview. Let's take it back to the interview. Piers Morgan. Do you think it was the right call for Ronaldo to do it in the way that he did it? And also, as well, did you agree with some of the points that he made in there in terms of the Glazers and stuff like that?
So, in terms of timing, I don't think there's a right time to do the interview. The guy clearly wanted to speak, and it's not the first time he's done this kind of interview. I always bring up the example at Real Madrid. He was kind of unhappy in the sense that even though he was scoring a lot of goals, he was an undisputed starter. In his first 3 years, then he came with a Copa del Rey, and he came out and made comments such as, we're not going to achieve anything with the current team. We need to improve, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, it's not on the same scale, but the idea is that when he wants to talk, he's not afraid to say his piece. So when it comes to timing, I don't think there's a right or wrong time to do the interview. The only thing I had an issue with was the person he did it with, but that's another discussion.
You're not the only person to say that, though, to be fair.
Pardon?
You're not the only person to say that.
Well, yeah, because I think we all know how we feel about the man in question, but again, that's another one. But the interview itself, I did expect it to be explosive. I did expect it to be controversial. But for me personally, I didn't think it was as bad as people made out. And don't get me wrong, I know that talking about the owners and the manager will get you fired. That's done. I knew it. As soon as I knew that those two topics were going to be in the whole interview, I knew that regardless of whatever he says, the club's going to get rid of him, and that's that. And I made my peace with that. In terms of what I agreed with pretty much everything apart from the Ten Hag bit. But here is my take on the Ten Hag part. People in life either respect or don't respect each other. When you're in such a public domain as a footballer and such a big club, I would prefer it even if you don't respect the manager, you don't say that in an interview, especially
100%.
Yeah, you and the manager can sort out your beef. If you said to the manager yourself and said, "Look, I don't respect you because I feel like you don't respect me," that's for you to deal with. But you don't give that to the public. You don't give that to peers and the rest of the UK and the footballing world to just literally use that as something to now beat you with, beat the club with, beat the manager with. It doesn't help anyone. Doesn't help anything. So that's the only thing I had an issue with. Even the Rooney thing. I think he's
called
very
him
touchy.
a rat.
He called him a rat. I thought that's a bit mad. That was a bit mad. But I don't think Rooney's a rat, so I do disagree with that. So that'll be two things. But the first one about people getting mad about him talking about the looks or something, and I thought that was in jest. Me personally, they laughed by it. Maybe because I'm better looking. It's like, well, all right, cool. That's banter. I'm sure it shows
the ego, though, innit? It shows the ego that he's got.
But we've always known Ronaldo's had his ego. So anyone that brings up the thing that he's so egotistical, I'm like, well, that, and can't lie to you. That's what makes great footballers. The guys, the best players, have huge egos, and they prove it on the pitch. So that's the only thing I had an issue with. But regardless, talking about the owners and all that, I'm here for it. So I didn't have much of an issue with that. But he had to go, and that's that.
Do you know? I agree. When I found out he was doing an interview, I thought, this is what the club needs. The club needs someone to kind of at that level as well, that kind of global superstar to come out and say what the fans have been saying about the Glazers and all of that stuff. So I agreed with everything he said about the Glazers. But like you said, when he started talking about Rooney and he mentioned another player, was it Gary Neville? He mentioned Gary Neville as well. And then he started talking about Ten Hag as well, and he talked about Ralph Ragnick. He didn't know who he was. How can you coach me if you're not a coach? I kind of get it a little bit. I do with him to a tiny extent. But I think the problem with it was that he knew by doing that. He wanted out in the summer, didn't he? He wanted to move club, and he knew by doing this interview, because I think Piers asked him, "Do you expect to stay at United?" And how many times did Ronaldo say, "The United fans know that I've got love for them always"? He knew he was never coming back to that club. He knew it, because he knew that he'd already signed the deal to exit the club. He must have, because he knew, and he knew the timing of doing it at the, because that was done, I think, after the Spurs game, I think. But
I think so. It might have been, and then dropped
literally
during
after
the game. Yeah.
So it was literally like he could have dropped it the next day. Like, let's be honest, if it was Piers Morgan, he's obviously been told, hold on to this. Obviously, they need to speak to the club. The club must have been. I know clubs say they don't know. They said the same about Lukaku, but you can't throw out an interview like that and not even consult someone from the club. I don't think.
Absolutely.
Anyway. There has to be something like PR. I don't know, that they have to go through some sort of thing, but he knew what he was doing, man. He knew that by doing that, he was going to get that move away from United, terminate the contract, which I think he tried to do in the summer anyway. I think George Mendes said he wanted to try, and he was ready to give up his contract to United. But I think he by doing it this way, I think he thought, I might get a payout of it.
I mean, he did sort of address it in the interview, saying, obviously he went for the media saying, there were lies about, no clubs wanted him, which, even from what I was hearing, I mean, I'm not a journalist by any chance yet, but from what I was hearing, but he was definitely wanted by a couple of clubs, especially namely Napoli, because I know Man United tried to get an Osimhen deal out of that. So the rumors were very false, and that's what he addressed that, and that's fine. I think he tried to do it for one of two things, and I think it worked in one favor, not definitely not the other. As you said, to either maneuver a move out of the club, or for the club to just say, you know what, because he still feels like he's Ronaldo, regardless of age and how much time he's got left in the game. When he's gone to Real Madrid and he's gone to Juventus, his words have had influence, like serious influence. So maybe he thought that saying this at Man United will make the Man United the club say, okay, we're not happy that you've gone out and spoken, but maybe you got a point, so we'll try and do things your way. Because he pretty much did say, I know how a successful club runs. He's not an owner, he's not a boardroom member by any chance, but we all know, especially at the peak of the El Clasico, Messi versus Ronaldo wars, when those two said something to the club, they listened ridiculously quick. It was just like, well, Messi wants this, I'll give it to him. Ronaldo wants this, I'll give it to him. So I guess with that experience, or little experience in comparison to how big that actual job is as a boardroom member, he probably feels like he knows what United needs. And I always say this to other United fans, we're in the same boat, because I will go on a podcast like today and I will say, Man United need this, and we'll be successful with him. That's not how it works, but that's how we feel. And that's literally what he's done as well. As a person, as a fan, maybe I feel like he loves Real Madrid a lot more than he loves Man United. But if he says he loves the club, I believe him. But he's going to come with the same energy and say, listen, I've won so many trophies. Same way I'll say, look at what Liverpool are doing. If we do the same thing, we'll be successful too. Who knows? But that's the way of the world, and that's how it works. So, yeah.
Do you think, though, by him doing this interview, that he's kind of, I don't want to say tarnished his reputation or his legacy at United? Because I think if he turned around up before, obviously, the termination of the contract, and even probably the interview, even if he turned around and said, look, United fans, I still want to see the season out and play, do you think there would have been a possibility for him to do that? Because I think some fans, United fans, are like, yeah, he's done the interview, but, he's still under contract, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of fans, including us, like, obviously, as an outsider, I said they can't play for that club now. He's got, when you cross too many bridges and you're burning them on the way. Like, he's done that. You can't talk about the current manager, the hierarchy above it, and say all that, and then go to Carrington, like, when you come back from the World Cup, and you can't kick football United after that. So
I think only the manager's comments were enough to not let him play for the club again. I feel like the club have sacked him based off what they said about the owners, because it's funny, he said it, he's been sacked there, the club has announced he's been fired, and then within 24 hours, statements about infrastructure and, we're going to make this club a global success again and to compete for all the trophies. I'm like, well, basically it's like you're trying to save face. Everything he said in the interview about you guys is now what you're addressing. Finally. Oh, We need to fix the stadium. Well, we've been screaming that for a long time because when it rains, it's ridiculous.
It
Rain
pours.
is hell at Old Trafford.
It pours.
It actually pours. It pours through the ceiling. You know what I'm saying?
I
So
hear you, man. I hear you.
now that we're screaming that, and now he said it on TV, it's now like, oh guys, all right, we fired him. The next thing was on the Man United app on your phones, you get Garnacho talks about Ten Hag and how he's a great guy, and then Rashford say how he's improved on Ten Hag already. That's number one. Address manager, he's a great guy. Don't listen to Ronaldo. And then it's infrastructure. Despite what Ronaldo says, we're actually working on it. No, you're not. No, you're not.
No.
So what he said has influence. Whether Man United fans want to admit as well, even the ones that didn't want him there before he joined again, because we've always been split as a fan base on whether he should come back or not. And I was in the camp to bring him back just because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who was manager at the time, said that he wanted a striker. And I feel like he wanted a striker because despite Martial scoring, I think 20-something 2 years prior, the next year was poor. He scored 4 league goals. He was injured a lot again. And he wanted out as well, actually. He waited out. Eventually, he got his loan move to Sevilla, which didn't work out for him. So we wanted a striker. And I'm like, well, are you telling me Ronaldo's available? One of the most
proven, isn't it? He's a proven guy. So
exactly.
You got to go for him. If he's on the market, you go for him.
There you go. And the fee that you've paid for him as well, it doesn't even come close to the fee that you see from Real Madrid. You combine his original 12.25 and the 20 million we've paid. We've paid 32.5 million for someone that's gonna come back and is a ridiculous goal. In fact, simple statement. He's got the record for being the best goal scorer in football history. Full stop. So when you talk about having a striker that score goals, that's it. So yeah, that's why I wanted him back. Other United fans, they said they saw it coming, and if I'm being honest, a lot of them saw the future in Martial. He's injured again, so that tells you the whole story there. So it was gonna go one way or another, and obviously it's gone the way where I didn't want it to go. But there are also a lot of United fans that are happy about this, which I find insane. But there you go.
It's mad as well because I think I look at Zlatan, and I mean he's still playing. And there's other players that I could name, but Zlatan being one of them where he knows his role now at the club. Do you know what I mean? He knows he's got to take a little back step. He's not going to be, as much as his ego's still there, you know what Zlatan's like, you've obviously had him at your club, but his ego's massive. And he's almost one of them where he speaks, people listen. And Ronaldo's the same. But I think the difference with Ronaldo is he's not willing to accept that he's got a new role to play. Even if he goes to, like, there's talk of him coming to Chelsea now or going back to Sporting. And obviously further afield, I think Saudis are back involved. Newcastle's been another team, but he's got a new role to wherever he goes. He's got a new role to play. Whether maybe not in the Saudis, but anywhere within Europe, he's not going to be a starter. He won't, because Newcastle, they might play him for the season. They might play him for the rest of the season and maybe even summer next season. But they're going to bring someone else in eventually, and he's going to have to accept that he's got a new role to play at the club. If he goes to Chelsea, I mean, Chelsea's a different kettle of fish, but he's still got a different role to play. He's not playing week in, week out. He might come on and do a 15-minute cameo at the end. That's his role. That's his age, in my opinion. But do you think that's what he's got to do, or do you think he's still got the level and the ability to play week in, week out, 90 minutes here, 90 minutes there, or is he got to accept a new role wherever he goes now?
I think it's a bit of both. I think he can. I mean, he looks after himself, so he feels fit enough to play week in and week out. I mean, he would have to find out himself if he does play week in and week out, because he didn't in this season anyway. But I see a different way with him, and I'm happy you brought up the Ibrahimovic one, because when Ibrahimovic came to Man United, his thing wasn't I must start every game. He said it in an interview after he left, I think a year or two after, saying the reason why Man United will not succeed is because, one, the owners, and two, Ronaldo said it in a much harsher way in terms of talking about the younger generation. But
they're not going to last.
Yeah, exactly. But that's said about the Man United crop. Not that they're not talented, but it's like the hunger and the
desire
thought to approach how your lifestyle is very different to how his generation did it. And that's what Ronaldo was saying here. He tried to aim it to the whole generation, not just Man United, to try and make it be a bit more fairer. But the point still stands. You know, and I think if fans are honest, you know, I brought Marshall earlier because we know Marshall's talented as hell.
Yeah, of
You know,
course, of
he's a
course.
very good footballer. And just like I hate this statement because it can go for so many footballers, but on his day, yes, absolutely, he can be one of the best. But he's injured a lot, and injuries are unlucky. But I want to also believe that you're trying your best to prevent the injuries.
Yeah,
You know,
of
to the
course.
best of your ability. I mean, you can't help it. I mean, Harry Kane has already been injured in the World Cup for his ankle because he got taken out. That's not his fault. But I would like to hope that you get injured and you try your best to do things to get better. Last year,
Yeah,
you weren't playing well. When you played, you didn't play good, and you looked for a way out immediately, similar to Ronaldo, and
it's
you
true.
got your loan to Sevilla. I feel like Ronaldo was ready to accept a lower role, just depending on how he was used, because he made the point about, you know, I know what kind of player I am. I won't come off for 3 minutes against Tottenham. There's also the same guy that wanted to play the next 45 against Man City, despite Man United getting absolutely destroyed at City. So it tells you that he's not particularly upset about starting on the bench. It's more for me, I think, the case of I'm not going to play the last 2 or 3 minutes like I'm a young 18-year-old to just see out the game, or no disrespect intended, Rob Holding kind of role where Arsenal winning the game and they bring him on just to make it a 5-man defense. You know what I'm saying? But that's what they do. So so I think he has points. I think he has points, but wherever he does go, you're correct. He'll have to see himself playing a new role, and even at Newcastle, I mean, Miguel Almiron and
Callum Wilson as
are
well.
doing wonderfully well. So you sign Ronaldo, yes, by name, by history, comparison of career, Ronaldo should start. But if Wilson and Miguel Almiron are working, you don't need to
You don't
drop.
change what. Yeah, you don't change it.
You don't need to drop him, like, you know. And even then, you'll have to ease Ronaldo in anyway, because after the World Cup, he's looking for a club. So you know, and for free transfers, that's going to be from January again. So who knows? He's going to have to wait and see what happens. But it's going to be an interesting couple of months to see where Ronaldo ends up next.
I was just about to ask you that actually. Where do you think realistically he's going to end up?
I think he should go PSG.
You reckon?
I think he should go. Not for the whole. I don't care about the whole Messi Ronaldo should play thing. Like that. That's not the thing for me. I think he should go PSG because, well, firstly, for his ambition, Champions League. That's
true.
That's a given. True. But number two, I think he'd be a lot more accepting of a different role at that club because they've already got the original front three for the season of Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe. And if you add Ronaldo as another option, PSG, one thing they like to do is rotate. I know they lack competition in League 1, but if you can keep these players fit as another superstar to that team, I think it benefits all parties. He gets another good contract. They get a money maker in terms of shirt sales. So it balances out the money spent on him and money being brought into the club. And for the romantics, Messi and Ronaldo playing, despite it being the twilight years, I kind of compare it to when they made us wait 10 years for Pacquiao versus Mayweather.
We still got it though, but I get what you're saying.
Exactly. So I think PSG,
it'd be worthwhile to see. I mean, personally, I think he goes back to Sporting. I think that'd be a good shout for him.
Would you take him? Because I know he's linked to Chelsea.
No, as someone said this to me before in the summer when we were linked with him then, and he comes with baggage, man. And yes, we need a goal scorer because our goal scorers have been a myth for years now. So we need a strike. We need someone that can put the ball in the back of the net. He is that guy. But he's what, 38 now, is he? 37,
38 in February, if I remember.
Yeah. So he's at the wrong. I mean, we've got Aubameyang now who isn't playing, who started well but hasn't since obviously he's been at Chelsea. So we need someone, but having two, and I don't think that's our project going forward. I think if you look at the structure that Bowley's put in now, Graham Potter, we're looking youngsters. I think we're going to look at the other end and develop players coming through, but maybe as a stopgap. I don't know. Bowley loves Ronaldo, and I think he's thinking more from a business perspective, like you just said about shirt sales and the brand of Ronaldo being at Stamford Bridge. He's thinking that side of things. He's not thinking. So if he comes in, it's a stopgap. It's a 6 month, maybe a year, but I think he might go further afield, man. I think, you know, Saudi Arabia was mentioned in the interview, and I know there's clubs that want to offer him mad money again to go over there. But I think Sporting, man. I think Sporting's a shout. I'd say MLS, but that's a bit of a tricky one. But yeah, maybe there as well. But wherever he ends up, he's still going to put the ball in the back of the net. So whoever gets him, they're getting a ball off.